You never thought you'd have to deal with more of that stuff than criminals, right? You'd rather have criminals, they're easier to deal with.
You know what?
Some handcuffs on them, throw them in the brig.
That's a term you don't hear anymore.
Brig, yeah. You're the Air Force, weren't you? I thought that was a Navy term.
Yeah. Now, is your quarterback, does he really have a broken collarbone? Yeah. He will be out. Houston?
Yeah.
For a year in Houston?
He's a better runner.
I never said they were cost effective.
Okay. Let's call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bruce, roll call, please.
I received an email today that Councilmember Ash Looney may or may not be here. It seems that he is not here today. I don't know if you need a motion to excuse or.
Yes, we invite a motion to excuse Alex.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay,
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Councilmember Bisbal.
Here.
Councilmember Ellis.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gazelle.
Here.
Mayor Kajirski.
Here.
Councilmember Cusick.
On page 3 of our program here are the minutes from the last meeting, October 18th. Please take a look, and if everything is satisfactory, we need a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Also on pages 8 to 17 are various commission minutes and committee meetings. Again, we're accepting that into the public domain. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Public comment. We have any public comment? All right, we're pleased to welcome our board director, Jessica Kaiser, from the Grosse Pointe Public Library. And Kim, would you please come up to the podium and give us a presentation about all the good things happening at our Grosse Pointe Library?
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us. I'll let Jessica give an update, but I'd like to introduce her first. We had selected Jessica in August, and she's been working since, and she's done a great job. She's started various programs. She's part of the Rotary now, and her background is Wayne State University Masters in Library Informational Science. So she's able to tackle this big job on, and she's doing a great job. So welcome.
Thank you, Kim. So I just wanted to tell you about a few exciting things we have coming up at the Grosse Pointe Public Library. Next Friday, we will be open on the day after Thanksgiving, and we invite the community in to watch the holiday parade from our newly renovated Central Branch. We'll have fun activities going on there for the whole family, including face painting. There will be door prizes, and if you head over to the Woods Branch after, we are going to have live reindeer and letters to Santa. We also have a popular new book club for adults called the Deconstructed Book Club. It's perfect for people who don't want a set reading list. Fiction and nonfiction readers are all invited. There's no scrambling for a copy of the next month's selection, no forcing yourself to finish a book you don't enjoy. You just simply bring a book or two that you'd like to recommend to your peers and share them in a warm atmosphere. We do have refreshments, and the next meeting will be on December 1st. We also are excited to have just secured the services of Strategize, a consulting company who's going to guide us in creating a strategic plan for the next 5 years. So we will be soliciting feedback from members throughout our service district, including the Shores, and we hope that people who use the library tell us what they like and what they'd like to see us do differently, and also people who don't currently use the library, what we could do differently. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions from council, or? Welcome aboard as our public director.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, this is what everyone's been waiting for, our audit presentation. Look at those smiling faces.
Good evening. I handed out tonight, actually, I have a couple of copies at your seats, 2 copies of the the audit presentation. And so what I've done here is pulled out excerpts out of the full report and put them into this presentation handout. Allowed me to highlight a few things and make some notes and hopefully make it easier to follow along. Because when I start to talk,
This is the Reader's Digest condensed.
it is the abridged version for sure, yes. Yes. So you'll notice that some of these pages do have 2 page numbers. I'm going to refer to the page number off in the lower right-hand corner that's in red. The page number from the center of the page is from the bound report. But a couple of general comments. Our thanks to Rhonda, Mark, and the rest of the city staff for their courtesy, cooperation, and assistance. We know we're a disruption to their normal schedule, and we appreciate all the help that we received while we were here for field work. What I plan to do tonight is just highlight what I think are the key areas, but if you have questions, feel free to stop me. We can go through those at any time. Pages 1 through 3 of the presentation consist of the independent auditor's report, and the purpose of an audit is to express opinions as to whether the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. So this independent auditor's report includes our opinion on your financial statements. And that's what I've highlighted on the first page there, those 2 sentences, indicating that they are your financial statements in our opinion. On page 2 of the presentation, it's not highlighted, but the Improvement Foundation is considered a discretely presented component unit of the city, but it is only audited every 3rd year. And so we've included the financial information in this report, but it is not audited, so we've disclaimed an opinion on that. We have expressed an unmodified opinion on the city's financial statements, or the primary government's financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance that you can receive. So that's what you want to see as a council, is that unmodified opinion that the financial statements are fairly presented. If you skip to pages 4 and 5 make up the government-wide financial statements, and these are prepared on the full accrual basis of accounting. So they have a long-term focus. They include capital assets and long-term debt for governmental activities, and they also include the net pension liability. And I've highlighted that here on this page because it's the largest liability for your governmental activities. And as of June 30th, 2016, that liability was $7.6 million. So that was an increase of about $4.7 million from the previous year. So that's why I wanted to point that out. Your unrestricted net position for the governmental activities in the left-hand column is a negative $4.3 million. So that unrestricted net position actually decreased $3.1 million from the previous year, largely the result of the increase in the net pension liability. The business type activities column is identical to the water and sewer fund information, so I'm going to skip over that for now, and we'll cover that in a minute. On page 5 of the presentation, we have the statement of activities. This is the operating statement, covers the 12-month period that ended June 30th. It's a little backwards because it starts with expenses, and as you read left to right, you add back in your program revenues to come up with a net revenue or expense in the right-hand column. As you can see, most of your governmental activities have a net expense, and that's not unusual. You rely on your general revenues to function, your governmental activities, and those would include property taxes, state shared revenue, interest, and so forth. So as you read down that column, the results for the year is the change in net position, the 3rd number from the bottom. For governmental activities, your net position decreased by $2.8 million in total, and your business type activities increased or improved $314,000. Pages 6 and 7, we get into the governmental funds financial statements. These are prepared on the modified accrual basis of accounting, so they have a current financial resources focus. The balance sheet is a snapshot as of June 30th, 2016 as well. We'll focus on the general fund in the left-hand column. And at the bottom of the column there, your total fund balance, it's not highlighted, but it's just over $1.5 million. And portions of that have been restricted or are non-spendable. And what you have left over is the assigned and unassigned portions, which collectively we refer to as unrestricted fund balance. So that's what you have available to spend in the future. And that unrestricted fund balance represents 25.2% of your annual expenditures and other financing uses or transfers out, which is an improvement over the prior year. You were at 23.4%. So as a benchmark, the Government Finance Officers Association recommends maintaining a general fund balance equal to a minimum of 2 months worth of what they call normal operations. So 2 out of 12 months is about 17%, and you're at 25. So you're in sound financial condition. On page 7 of the presentation, we have the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances, again focusing on the general fund in the left-hand column. You had modest increases in both revenues and expenditures for the general fund, 3.5% in revenues and 3.4% in expenditures. And the results for the year on the modified accrual basis of accounting, you added to your fund balance $191,000. On page 8, we've got a 5-year bar graph that details just the general fund revenues, expenditures, and total fund balance for the past 5 years. And as you can see, you've steadily increased your general fund balance over the past 5 years. 2014, you see a spike in the activity in the revenues and expenditures, and that is related to the Honeywell project. On page 9, a couple of pie charts that detail the composition of your 2016 general fund revenues and general fund expenditures. Largest source of revenue is, of course, property taxes. It's 73%. It was 77% in the prior year. On the expenditure side, the largest use of funds is public safety at 41%. It was 40% last year. General government at 21%, 19% in the previous year, and then public works at 16%, which was 15% in the previous year. So fairly consistent from 15 to 16 in terms of the composition. On page 10 of the presentation, we have the statement of net position. Again, this is the same information in the left-hand column that you see for the water and sewer fund. It's identical to the government-wide financial statements, business type activities. It's just a slightly different format. I've highlighted at the bottom there the unrestricted net position for water and sewer fund is 37.5% of your operating expenses. It's what I would say is a little on the low end, but it really depends on, I don't have a benchmark like I do for the general fund. It really depends on the age and condition of your systems. Because if they're in poor shape, then you may need to borrow money to maintain them or to replace them and so forth. So you really need to compare yourself to yourself over time and see if that unrestricted net position is improving or deteriorating. For the Marina Fund, your unrestricted net position ended the year at $199,119. That's 140% of your operating expenses, which is an improvement over the previous year. But as you can see, your total net position is still negative because your investment in capital assets is negative. So that means you have more debt on your capital assets than the net book value. On page 11.
Aaron, on the prior page, what useful life are we using on the depreciation?
It depends on the asset.
Okay.
So we have a note disclosure that does detail out. It doesn't give you, every asset, but it does give you categories. So on page 17 of the bound report, buildings are 50 years, vehicles are 8 to 15, machinery and equipment 5 to 20. It really depends on the asset itself and how long it's depreciated.
Because our cash flow is positive when you back out the depreciation.
Yes. Yeah. So and your depreciation is outpacing the reduction in debt as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it continues to be negative. On page 11, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund net position for the water and sewer fund increased 37.5%. Your revenues did. Expenses increased 3.4%, and you added to your net position or improved your net position by $239,000, and that's total net position. You actually improved your total net position for the Marina Fund as well by $75,000. Got a couple of charts and graphs for those two funds that follow here on pages 12 and 13. On page 12, we have the water and sewer fund graphs. So after a 4-year downward trend, your water and sewer fund is now taking an upswing in 2016. So that's positive news. And then the Marina Fund on page 13. Again, total net position did improve, but as capital assets are depreciated, the net investment continues to be negative, and there's still long-term debt outstanding in the Marina Fund. So again, I think the total net position did improve, and you can see that in the bottom line graph pretty clearly. but you still have that negative net investment in your capital assets. We did not issue a report on internal control. We didn't have any findings or recommendations for you this year. A very positive audit as far as we're concerned. I thought the fieldwork went very well. Again, I'd like to thank Rhonda for all of her hard work. On page 14 of the presentation, I would like to point out, this is a page out of the notes to the financial statements. We have a handful of upcoming accounting pronouncements, or you have a handful of upcoming accounting pronouncements to contend with over the next couple of years. Two of which are related to the OPEB or other post-employment benefits liability or obligation that will need to be recognized in full on your full accrual financial statements, just like we did for the pension liability last year. This is coming for the OPEB as well over the next 2 years. 2017 deals with the plan itself, and then 2018 deals with the city's financial statements. Or, excuse me, GASB 74 deals with the plan itself, GASB 75 deals with the city's financial statements, and that's in 2018 that's effective. And then GASB Statement 77, tax abatement disclosures, to the extent that you have tax abatements, so they will be included in a new note disclosure in your audited financial statements next year.
Aaron, why was the discount rate used of 5.3% for the pension liability? Do you know?
That was a change, and I talked to the actuaries about that. They had to use a blended rate because the rate that was being used, you met the crossover and the
Is that what it was?
yeah,
Okay.
projections weren't enough to fund the.
Because we reduced our internal rate of return from 7.5 to 7%. So, I mean, the pressure is to move it downward, of course.
Right. And you're not alone in that. A lot of municipalities that we work with use MERS, and they change their assumptions as well. So through no action of your own, the actuarial studies are coming in and the liabilities are jumping up everywhere.
Yeah, our liability went up 700,000, I think, from last year to this year, so.
Well, even more than that. The net pension liability was pretty significant. So that was, as I said earlier, that was like, I gotta look.
But that's in part because of the lower discount rate that
Absolutely,
we're
yes.
forced to implement.
Yeah, it was, 4.7 million in total, the net pension liability increased.
But the total is like over $21 million when you look at the
That's plan assets.
21,743 versus 21,012. I'm looking at page 6 of the actuarial report. Yet the funding
Yeah.
requirements are pretty level. It's only up $17,000. But our liability, our actuarial accrued liability went up quite a bit.
Right, this actuarial accrued liability, this gets into what you need to, the ARC, what the required payment is, but that's not really the true liability. So if you turn to page 41 of the audit, we have a comparison here for the last 3 years, 14, 15, and 16, and your net pension total pension liability in 2014 was 19.5 million, in 2015 was 23.5 million, in 2016 is 27.9 million. And then you've got assets set aside, so your planned fiduciary net position has been decreasing over that same 3-year period. So your net pension liability, you actually had a net pension asset in 2014. And then in 2015, you've got a 3.1 million net pension liability, and in 2016, 7.9 million in total. That gets split between the governmental activities and business type activities.
But that's the difference between 7% and 5.3%, isn't it?
Well, that is
'Cause
definitely
this is based on an internal rate of return we don't use to,
right.
for.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of it. But you can also see that your planned fiduciary net position, your benefit payments that have gone out, you paid out almost $1.5 million.
Versus 1.249
Yeah.
million.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of moving parts to that calculation. So.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear that we didn't have any internal control recommendations, so that's a good thing
It is.
in this day and age. So, are there any other suggestions you can think of, Aaron, that we should be adopting, or?
No, as I said, I thought everything went very well. Appreciate the hard work that everyone does here. And like I said, I know we're a disruption, so we're thankful for the help. Yeah, there was, I think, with the bond refunding, I think we helped a little bit with some of the journal entries on that. But other than that, that was really it.
Because we fixed the, with wire transfers, it's countersigned, and then, of course, the credit card statements. I think those are the two from last year that
Yes. Yeah.
you asked us to look at. Okay.
Those were addressed.
Are there any questions from council? Tina, Bob, or
Mark.
Mark?
Or you should introduce your associate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
of all the-
So, yeah, any
Oh.
difficult questions Katie can take.
Katie was our senior person here
Oh,
this
okay.
year,
I'm sorry.
and their other staff members could not come because one just had a baby, right?
Oh,
So, we appreciate they're in and out, and ask for anything that they need. Rhonda does a great job getting them information, and stuff. And, again, it went pretty smooth, and, we're pleased that the results are as positive as they are, so.
okay.
And the end result is we have a 25% cushion in our general fund balance, an increase.
Yep.
We've achieved a AAA credit rating, so we're strongest financially than we've ever been in the last 5 years. This pension liability is a calculation among, I don't know, the witch doctors. If anybody can explain it to the layperson and how it works in the mortality table, because we're gonna change the mortality table that's being used going forward from a 20.
That's true.
It's,
Yeah.
bottom line is with the pension, we're over 90-some% funded in our liability. We pay what the actuary tells us to pay. We've absorbed a $100,000 increase in pension costs because of the change in the conservative approach to the rate of return that we've went through. We've done that. We increased our capital reserve account for capital equipment that we didn't have. We added $100 and some thousand to that, despite buying a new dump truck in the current going forward. So if translating what you've done to, what does it mean to our residents? We're in the strongest position we've been in a
Yes.
long time.
Yes,
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Say that louder. Say into the microphone, please.
Absolutely.
So that's why, that's where we come from. So we appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good work, Aaron, and again, thanks to the Finance Committee and Rhonda for all the hard work to get to this point, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item is a public hearing that Grosse Pointe Yacht Club's requesting a special land use variance. I need a motion to enter into a public hearing with the council acting as a ZBA.
So move.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
At this point, I'm going to recuse myself because I am an active member of the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, so my Mayor Pro Tem, Bob Gazelle, will handle the discussion portion.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item on the agenda is special land use request by Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, 788 Lakeshore Road, Harbor Project 1B. Mr. Tom Luzon had explained that the upcoming special land use in part is a continuation of the South Wall project that was approved last year with the addition of a sales center building and family recreation center. The Planning Commission approved it unanimously. Mr. Gazelle did not vote because he will be voting on it today. And the City Council would have to waive the rear and south side setback requirements of the seawall enhancement, walkway replacement, addition of floating docks and pods to dock PWC kayaks, club sailboats, and to construct the two-story marine sail recreation center in compliance with the plans submitted to the Grosse Pointe Shores Planning Commission at the meeting of October 24th, 2016 for the following reasons. Number one, the Army Corps of Engineers and the MDEQ have approved the location of the Marine Sail Recreation Center foundation. Number two, the architectural character of the new facility is keeping with the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club main clubhouse. Number 3, view lines are only minimally impacted as the new facility is at the far southeast corner of the docks. Again, the commission voted unanimously in favor. This is only first part. We'll go to the next part after you vote on this one. It was, the manager would like.
Anyone here from the yacht club that wants to speak to this first issue? Please come up and give us your name and address.
My name's Blaze Clino. I am the new Commodore of the Bristol Yacht
welcome.
Club. So good evening, everyone. Nice to be here. Not much to add other than what's been explained. What this is the continuation of the renovations of the south wall, moving from where we stopped in the spring of this year to the opening, and then in the sales center area, that south east corner, renovating that, adding a pad, and putting a building there. It's labeled as a two-story, but it's a one-story building with an attic. The upstairs area will be used to store spars and sales and things of that nature. Architecture to be in line with the main clubhouse, just as she said. We won't put a tile roof out there, but it will be a steel roof, and it will be a similar color, so the look and feel of the club will be maintained. Any questions?
Any questions at this point? As I understand it, it complies with all the height requirements.
It does.
The variance for the setback is on the water, so no one's got a real problem there. Okay, any other questions?
Are you taking out the docks over there? Isn't that where you park some of your really large boats over there?
No, this is the south wall, just
Sales.
continuing along to the opening, so that the south edge of the seawall. The large boats are on the east wall.
This is the east wall, huh?
Yeah.
This is the entrance, right?
Right.
That's right where the entrance is.
Yeah, but that's, the part of that is there right now.
Yeah, okay. You're not losing any docks doing this?
No.
Any further, is anyone else present that would like to speak to this issue? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve based on the plans and specs and on the basis outlined at the planning commission meeting. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstained, of course.
Mary?
Okay, excuse me, the second item is to approve, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the City Council of the special land use for the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club Family Recreation Center, subject to City Council waiving the front and side yard setback requirements for the removal and replacement of the existing tennis house with a two-story clubhouse, and the removal of 6 tennis courts, the replacement of 4 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts, it's a tongue twister here, 1 shuffleboard court, and 5 fitness stations, plus the addition of a splash pad, ice rink, playscape, grass play area, and 1 half-size basketball court in compliance with the plans submitted the Grosse Pointe Shores Planning Commission at the meeting on October 24, 2016 for the following reasons. Number 1, replacing existing similar facilities in approximately the same location. The existing setback are being maintained. 3, perimeter landscaping along a lakeshore road is being enhanced, subject to the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club submitting a detailed landscape plan in meeting the zoning ordinance section 40-145 for landscape along common property lines with non-like zoning districts. And again, the commission approved unanimously with Mr. Dessel abstaining. Mark, do you have anything to add? Did we get the
only thing to
plans?
add is they did submit, Backer Landscaping has been engaged by them, and they submitted their landscape plan, which looked fine to administrative staff.
That was approved?
Yes.
Plan?
All right, so it's, just again, as said, that we'll be doing that tennis area. We're gonna reduce the size, so the 6 clay courts gonna go to 4, and we'll add some other features to enhance things. You left out the 2 bocce ball courts. The ice rink ice rink is very doubtful, because that's gonna be cost prohibitive and detrimental to the courts, so you're not gonna see there.
You're replacing the clay with clay?
I'm sorry?
Replacing the clay with clay
The clay
courts?
with clay, but 4 rather than 6.
Why, what was the reasoning, just to get 2 bocce ball courts? Or-
To get some more room. We don't utilize the 6 as much, only when there's a tournament, and that's kind of rare. So the 4 bocce ball courts, that'll be hard surface, and it's also a single tennis court. So when you're not pickling, you can use it for, well, you could play anything.
Yeah.
But we thought maybe for lessons and things when there's other activities going on the clay courts. But everybody agreed with, especially those of us who are older, and these are, not that I'm playing tennis, you probably could figure that out. But it's a lot better on the knees. One thing that's nice, though, those mature pine trees that we have that run along Lake Shore have lost their ability to screen anything. All the lower foliage is gone. So we'll have nice coverage there, so that'll be screened from people driving by.
You're gonna build a splash pad?
Yeah,
How big?
not very big, not similar to yours, but not,
And you're gonna use a freshwater system?
we plan to use a recirc.
Recirculating?
It's expensive to do a fresh one,
You should
especially when you
talk-
have to pay for the water.
I would strongly suggest to you that you reconsider that, because we look very closely at recycling, and it is prohibitively expensive. And the last time one of those was tried, it was in Traverse City, and it didn't work.
We're looking at a 3 to 4 year payback on the recirc, so
So,
we are looking very closely at it.
How-
It's
how mu-
it's expensive.
this whole project is really expensive, my goodness, it's great. One comment came to us from some of the people is the accessibility for people with disabilities to the club.
Mm.
It hasn't been, that while you're doing a lot of these very commendable things, and we thank you for your improvements, there was some concern about what's your long-term strategy to improve accessibility for handicap?
As we move around on the inside of the building and do things, we intend to do that. You probably know, you've been there, but I believe the number, if I'm not mistaken, there are 22 different levels in that club, and it is difficult to figure out a way to do things. We've had some proposals, we have some things in mind. We haven't got anything actively happening at the moment, but that is very much on our radar scope. We have an elevator, but that only services certain levels of the club.
The other question was, some people have asked, what's the plan on the east wall for the other opening?
We're still considering
Still in the future planning,
future planning, yes.
till you find the money?
Money is kind of an important thing.
Yeah. Great.
It certainly looks like a beautiful layout, and as Bruce said, we appreciate your contributions to the city along with it. Is there any other comment from the public at this point in time?
I have one other question. What's your timing to do this tennis? Are you gonna do that this fall?
We want to get started the demolition this fall. Building is not going up over the winter or anything. We'd like to get tennis going and some of the features going by springtime or early June, okay? And then the building is still evolving into what it's going to be.
So your completion date for the whole thing is 18 to 24 months?
Correct.
When you say the building purpose is evolving, what does that mean?
We haven't designed the interior of it yet. We know what the exterior will look like, but what features we're going to put on the inside of the building, locker rooms, restrooms, are we gonna have any, office area, some activity rooms for young children.
Are you losing parking in that area?
We're losing some parking,
Some parking,
about 13 spots.
Any other questions from the council? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the request for variance and approve the proposed plans based on the criteria laid out by the planning commission.
So,
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And one abstaining, yeah.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for the bocce ball omission. I don't want anyone being angry at us.
Not into bocce ball.
I may have to be, knee problems too, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commodore, and thank you, Bob,
Thank you.
for, and we have
We need
to,
a motion to go,
no, but we need now to convene as a city council, so as a
Complete this. Motion
we have a
to,
motion to convene as city council.
so moved.
Approve. Second, sorry.
All in
That's
favor?
all yours, Mr. Mayor.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Rhonda? A little bit more finance will be helpful tonight.
You got it. Good evening, everyone. In your packet, you have your list of the wire transfers for November. It's kind of a quiet month for the wires. Everything is pretty normal transactions. On your list of checks issued since our last meeting, you'll notice we've had hydrant replacements. There's billings for the Colonial Road Sewer Project, a few Lakeshore and Bernier intersection transactions, Brett's new shiny Ford pickup. Also, I don't know if you're aware, but we had an election, so there's a lot of election worker checks. And also that defibrillator that the chief's been talking about, we've gone ahead and submitted payment for that also. Is there any
I'm
questions?
sorry, $42,000 for the truck?
Yes.
Wow. Is that a lot?
Sticker was, 51.
Do you give rides?
Want to go for a ride?
Follow garbage truck day.
Are there any questions from this check run? Approximate amount of $409,000. If not, I need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, Rhonda?
Since Aaron from our auditing firm didn't really take up much time, I thought I'd go line by line through the balance sheet.
Yeah.
Right now, revenues and expenditures are pretty much in track with our budget. Hopefully, next Wednesday, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we will be sending out tax bills.
Oh,
And for those people living in the Wayne County portion, there is a new 2 millage for the Regional Educational Service Agency.
I thought it was 1.2.
It's 2.
It's 2 mils.
It's actually 2.2, isn't it?
that's the six-year proposed, or six-year millage, right?
The tax rate request form that I've received from them shows 2, but I'll double check on
But it's
that.
for 6 years. It continues, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think it was approved for 6 years.
And then, once you get over the shock of your tax bill, then, of course, we'll be sending out water bills again, probably in the second week of December. And hopefully those will be much less than the last bills that went out.
Well, thank you, Rhonda.
Okay,
Are there any
one-
questions?
One other thing while I'm here, if we jump ahead on the agenda regarding the actuarial report from Rodwin Consulting, that the Pension Commission did approve and accept the report. So you have those reports, and there should be on your desk in front of you, 2 additional sheets with the 7% highlighted. In the original report, there was an error, it was showed the 7.5% rate of return. And so these corrections came in yesterday. So I just want you to be aware that you do have corrected sheets there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rhonda.
You're welcome. And everyone, happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you.
Same to you.
Bruce, you have anything to add? I know your committee's been hard at work all year.
The Finance Committee actually met last week, and we didn't talk about the audit, we didn't talk about the actuarial report. We talked about roads. We're developing a 3-year plan right now for road improvements, and it looks like next year we're gonna have a budget of at least $250,000 to $400,000 for road programs. Really concentrating on the north end of the community, South Duval, Ballantyne, and those areas up there where the separation occurred, and the concrete's kind of falling apart, so we're looking at saw cutting and replacing those sections and going, starting that way. Years 2 and 3 are still in progress. Brett's also going through all the sewer, catch basins, and manhole covers, make sure they're all in good shape in doing that. So that's what finance is working on. We will not meet in December. We're gonna meet in January going forward at that point. So that's what we're doing. So we're continuing to push forward in terms of our projects and our timeline about what the community's gonna look like in 5 years. So the audit's old news.
Well, thank you, Bruce. And thank you to the entire Finance Committee in working in conjunction with Rhonda and delivering the good news that we have and exceeding 25% of our general fund expenditures. I don't think we've ever done that before. So, I mean, that was good news. And then getting a clean bill of health on our internal control, that's also very good news as well. Chief, Public Safety?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and public. I do not have a call for service sheet for you this month. There was frankly nothing to report, which is always a good sign. Guess I got a job for another month. In October, as I reported last month, we interviewed for public safety officers, and after consulting with Mark, we selected a candidate from our interview group, and we have offered him a conditional offer of employment. He's a 26-year-old firefighter paramedic who currently works for MedStar, and as well, he was well recommended by. We have one young officer, Jason Cook, who has assisted us with finding personnel from the ranks of MedStar, and he has highly recommended this young man, and so we are looking forward to him. We're processing his paperwork now. The academy starts on January 16th, and it runs for 17 weeks, so we'll get him back in May. Prior to that date, we will have his employment testing, background, physical, and psychological evaluations completed, and we will bring him on before he goes to the academy and get him oriented to the community, ride-alongs, familiarization with the medic, etc. So we're moving forward on our replacing that PSO that we lost. As Rhonda had mentioned, the thermal imaging camera, the 12-lead monitor defibrillator is in service, and it's a great tool. This has all upgraded electronics on it, and I have to give credit to my, I have actually 2 instructor coordinators now, and my new officer is also an EMS instructor coordinator, so we're going to have a lot of instructors here as well. But the monitor's in service. It is a very sophisticated unit, and through a competitive process that I mentioned, we saved over $12,000 on the cost of this unit by getting 2 companies to bid against each other. So we're very pleased with that. The thermal imaging camera, which was approved for this year's budget, is also in service. Thermal imaging camera is a unit that senses heat signatures, and it can locate hidden fires in walls and ceilings. And it's of tremendous benefit to us to get to the seat of the fire quickly. If it's in a wall, we can identify it quickly and open this portion of the wall and not the entire wall, which is always appreciated. Brett and I met today with Dave Allen from the Traffic Engineering Association. He's in the process of evaluating the signal project at Vernier and Lakeshore, and he has identified several areas that need to be corrected, most of them minor. Some of them could be of hazard to, based on the placement of the signals. For example, the 2 signals for eastbound Vernier don't line up with the lanes. The left turn lane from northbound Lakeshore to westbound Vernier, when you get into the intersection, you can't actually see the green arrow. So there's a couple of issues that he's identified, and he wasn't sure whether they are engineering errors or construction errors. So we're asking the engineers to provide him with the construction plans so that he can evaluate them. We'll make the corrections, and we'll move forward. We have, as we always do this time of year, we've increased our traffic enforcement on the south end of Grosse Pointe Shores, on the east-west streets. We do get calls, I get calls frequently that the Cook Road cut through from Woodland Shore north, even up as far as Lockmore. The cuts to Lake Shore, speeds are excessive in there, and in the last 2 weeks, we've had target enforcement in that area, and we've issued 24 violations. So we take it very seriously. We want the speeds to be low on those streets for our residents, and so I instituted like a target traffic area, and it's becoming quite lucrative.
Chief, you're on the finance committee now, huh?
We have been working, I've had 2 meetings with Ford House Construction, with their engineers. They're in their preliminary planning stages. Mark has also been working on this with me. We're looking at, they've asked for our input on hydrant placement, water main placement, and access roads to the buildings. So we're making recommendations on their fire department connections, et cetera, on the new construction. They're in the preliminary stages now, but they'll be moving forward with a more definitive plan as they go forward. Mark may have more on this than I do. And the only other thing I have is the Thanksgiving Day Parade is November 25th, the Friday after Thanksgiving. We're going to send them 3 officers. We're going to send them our Harley Davidson, our motor unit, a bicycle, and another officer. So we'll be assisting with the, how's that?
He's gonna say he's not gonna fall this year, is he?
He has my instructions to ride weather permitting. But that's all I have tonight. If there's any questions? Sir?
If that left-hand turn light isn't visible in the intersection, how do they fix that?
Well, what they're going to do is, I believe his recommendation will be the PED pole that controls the crossing for, see, it would be on the northwest corner. There's a
The City Hall.
PED signal. What they're gonna do is they're gonna replace the pole. He's gonna make a recommendation to replace the pole and put a signal on top of it with a green arrow. So it'll cycle the same way that the left turn signal cycles. So, because you get into the intersection. The problem is that as you approach northbound, you get a flashing amber, which allows you to enter the intersection. Except when you get in the intersection, there's nothing to tell you to go. And if there's southbound traffic, you really don't know when the signal is gonna be red for you again, so.
So the guy honks.
Pretty much.
Shaking his fist at you going, you know, in my life.
But it's the signal actually, the preliminary that Dave Allen gave us today is the signal should have been moved further north so that you can actually see it once you're inside the intersection, so. But we'll make those corrections, and they'll probably have to put a new pole up for that one.
And wiring.
And
wiring.
Wire it.
And wiring.
They tell us there's sufficient conduit in the ground. Brett knows more about that than I do, but it's my understanding there's 3.5-inch conduit in the ground, so.
Hey, Santa.
I get involved.
Well, thank you, Chief. If there's no other questions, and thanks for your good work on traffic enforcement.
Have you had any problems with leaf at all, or leaves or anything like that so far? We've been okay?
We did have a resident that called us today in regards to, I forgot what the initial complaint was, there was several. In regards to a contractor not removing the leaves, and we have indicated that the city is removing the leaves now. We're not disenfranchising anyone, we're taking them away, and she wasn't aware of that, and then but I've had no other calls in regards to.
No catching the people dumping.
No, and I've instructed my officers, that's an automatic violation, dumping leaves.
I can tell you complaints from my neighbors pretty good. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of the landscape guys carry this stuff away.
Yeah, well, we haven't broadcast it all that much, but we need to know, and we may have to look at the ordinance again as well, so we can modify the ordinance. Because it currently says that contractors are not allowed.
Okay, that's good.
Well, thank you,
No
Chief.
leaf wars this year, at least, so far.
Brett, Public Works. I think, Brett, you're gonna talk about the leaves.
Oh, I'll be talking about leaves. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think I'm gonna be brief this evening, and I'm gonna start with our leaf pickup. It's underway, and it's well underway. I believe it's about 2 weeks behind schedule, simply because the leaves won't come off the trees. But the last week or so, they're coming down real heavy, and so far, the guys have been able to keep up with staying on their schedule. We're currently trying to pick up all the leaves on your scheduled rubbish day, and so far, we're able to keep up with that. And I'm happy to report, as I heard some discussion earlier, but at least we have traffic signals. A month ago, I stood before you and, grumbled again as this project was taking so long, but we have some signals. They are up and running. However, the job is not complete yet. We still have some issues that need to be taken care of, and Chief mentioned a few of those today. We have a lot of restoration to get done. None of the signs are put up. There's the ones that are going to be on poles are fixed to poles. That needs to happen. And there may be some adjustments on the system itself, whether it be timing or moving something, or if we have to put up a pole, we'll put up a pole. But the company doesn't even have a punch list yet. So these lights were just turned on recently, and we're in the process of working those little problems out. You may have seen a concrete company in the city replacing a lot of sidewalk and doing some minor road repairs. This is not DTE taking care of the sidewalks that they took out. This is a company taking care of a sidewalk list that we generate throughout the year where we have issues, mostly trip hazards, areas that stay underwater after rains and things like that. So that company's been in and out. And I was mentioning to a few people this morning or this evening before the council meeting, they were noticed by InfoSources doing such an efficient job coming in, doing their work, and leaving. They wanted a number of the company that we use to take care of the concrete work. So hopefully they can work something out. So as the concrete restoration comes through with InfoSource, that this company will be able to come in and do their work and get out. So I'd be very happy to see that. With that, DTE is wrapping up their program as we speak. Currently, all the mains that were scheduled to go in the ground are in the ground, and all the services are in except for a few in the Williston subdivision. They're going in very fast, and currently they have 3 restoration crews working. They are trying to have the restoration work done before the snow flies. That could be this weekend, so I don't know if they're going to be able to get that done. However, they're in here getting a lot of work done. They're getting it done quick. I've had very few complaints, and if there is a complaint, they're here to take care of it right away. And if there is something that needs attention, I'm sure there's something that's going to be missed. They're going to be here in the spring to take care of any other issues. And also, in the spring, their plan is, as far as I understand, they're looking on moving forward with their program, starting on Woodland Shore and moving north to Colonial. That would finish the rest of our city and will be completely finished. Our Christmas decorations are in the process of going up. We have a lot of lights up. We have a lot to do. And we're looking forward to our Christmas lighting ceremony. I believe it's a week from Friday, or a week from Sunday.
Week from Sunday.
Yes, so it's coming up real fast. So Mike Way and his staff, Mike's been running crazy here lately. He's been my shift guy. When people call in sick, I've had him decorating Christmas stuff. He's been on a garbage truck. He's been picking up leaves, so he sleeps very well at night. So hats off to him for doing such a good job, as well as the rest of your DPW staff. They work hard for you, and they're getting a lot done this time of year. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them at this time.
Any questions of Brett?
Those InfoSource guys and DT are working Sundays.
Yes.
They were at my house Sunday morning at 8:30. Changing it, And I gotta tell you, they did a great job. I mean, they had already run the gas line, and I'm on the other side, so I didn't, I only had one holdup.
Yeah.
But they've changed over, they use the same existing meter, they just changed the regulator.
Oh, okay.
That's what they do, but the guy did a great job installing it. He even painted the pipe. To match. I
Yeah,
was
they're
like,
not messing around. They want to get their job done and get out. And
they know what
I
they're
talk to them at least once a day. Today was kind of difficult because he was in the woods hunting and the phone reception kept going in and off. But communication and the work has been very, very good. Do we have problems? Absolutely. But those problems are getting taken care of, so.
Those guys work.
They do.
Really do work.
Yes, they do.
Well, thanks, Brett.
Thank
And I haven't received any calls either, so that's a good thing. Park and Harbor, Bob?
Yeah, we had a meeting today, and we'd continue working on facility use policy, and just some minor changes to that, and incorporate the mayor's letter that he sent to the tennis company in there, so that's part of the rules. We'll bring that back to council and hopefully in the January meeting for approval, because it is a council approval process. Additionally, the Park and Harbor guys, they want to meet with the council, and wanted to do it at night, maybe everybody's more available, but I was told today that we probably should wait till the bids come in for the 2 tennis courts, so that you can actually discuss the real issue. And that's probably not until sometime in the first part of the year. So I will be coming back to council and see if they would like to meet with them. And even though the council's made a decision for the 2 bids, but we really can't make a decision until the bids are in, so we know the actual cost. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Tina, the Blue Ribbon panel?
First, I want to address that last night I'm the liaison for the Growth Point Improvement Foundation. And we were at their meeting, and during my portion in discussing what is happening at the park, a few of the residents that were members there brought up a concern about security. That why aren't we doing anything to secure the park before we start doing tennis courts and other improvements? And that would be in discussing that we're going to enlarge the opening is the gatehouse at the opening of the park that we talked about earlier, that to resemble that of the yacht club, so that the park, once you get in, you're secure. And I just wanted to bring that up because they're not the first residents that have expressed some concern that we are not doing anything to secure the park any more than we currently are in all of these renovations. Saying that, Mark probably will talk about that. We met with the company, the engineering firm last week to, I think, finalize all of the necessities to send these out to bid, and that's kind of where we are right now.
Okay, thanks, Tina.
Sure.
I know last year, this year, we had 2 home swim meets, and at the second home swim meet, one of the parents came up to me and he said that he felt there was a car in the parking lot that didn't belong in the parking lot. And so we called, I asked the gate guard to call the police, and by the time we walked over there, the car left. So you don't know. I mean, you don't know, and I guess I'm more sensitive to it because my car I'm the beneficiary of a break-in and entering 12 years ago. So it's, I think the residents are looking for some kind of security improvement over what we have now, so that when you come in, you have at least the certainty that it's already past an attendant, and whether or not we man it all the time or what, I'm not sure how we do it, but I think that would be a great improvement because we've learned that times have changed and security's become first and foremost a very high priority. I I just came back from vacation, Florida, and my luggage tripped the metal detector. And someone had given me a gift, and I forgot that I had it in my luggage. And the TSA said, "Whose luggage is this?" And I raised my hand. "Oh, that's my bag." And they said, "We'd like to open it up." And sure enough, that gift was in there, and it had it was like more of a screwdriver set with a corkscrew and a bottle opener, but it also had like a little knife. The sensitivity of TSA. And because I told them it might be in there, he asked me if there was any metal. They allowed me to send it FedEx. It was a gift, and I FedExed it back to myself. But
It was in your carry-on?
no, yeah, it was. They allow you, but it was the overhead. It was in my carry-on,
That's why.
and it was just a small little item. But it just shows you the sensitivity for security, and when it all of a sudden I heard an alarm, and when they ask you whose bag that is, I'm proud to say, "Oh, I think that's my bag." But Tina, I know what you're saying because some residents have been asking about that and what we're doing. So, well, legal report, Brian.
Okay. Thanks, Ted. Since the date of the last city council meeting held on October 18th, the city attorney has been engaged in the following activities on behalf of the city. First, we conducted or attended a zoning ordinance amendments meeting between the city planners, city manager Mark Mullenweber, buildings director Tom Krolchek, planning commission chair Mary Matuja, and myself. We went over with a fine-tooth comb an earlier zoning ordinance amendments proposal that had been put forth by the city planner, numerous substantive and technical amendments to the ordinances. We today, just this afternoon, received the zoning ordinance amendments package from the city planner. We really didn't have any time to review it before tonight's meeting. The plan is for city manager Mullenweber and I to look it over between now and this coming Tuesday when the next city planning commission meeting is. And if it meets, our approval and essentially what we discussed at our meeting, then we're going to provide it to the planning commission members for their review and further recommendations and follow-up. We also consulted with the city regarding sewer overflow notices. Again, if you remember, the city's been receiving these sewer overflow notices from a law firm that's trying to gin up a class action based on sewer overflows, mostly down lake, I'll call it, or downriver in Detroit, Jefferson Chalmers area in particular. And in essence, there's really nothing for us to do with regard to those. There's a statutory requirement that if somebody is going to sue based on a sewer overflow, that they notify communities that they believe are, I guess, upstream and could be named as defendants in the action within at least 45 days in advance of doing that. So this law firm is running around getting everybody excited about storm events and sewer overflows, and you just put them on a shelf and sit on them and wait to see what happens. We also consulted with the city on noise issues on Lake St. Clair. We talked about that obviously at the last city council meeting at some length. We also received and responded to a number of Freedom of Information Act requests served on the city. We conducted some research regarding the city's existing conflict of interest policy and the state statutes and attorney general opinions concerning conflicts of interest when they involve city board and commission members. We'll be preparing a recommendation to the city council with respect to that in the near future. We consulted with the city regarding a bankruptcy court notice that the city received concerning a real property tax claim that the city made a year or two back in a city residence bankruptcy petition. We are continuing our review of the United States Supreme Court signage decision. If you remember at the last meeting, I mentioned that this decision that came out by the Supreme Court said that all signs that cities have to be content neutral. You can't regulate signs based on their content. You can regulate signs, however, based on their placement and their public safety aspects, convenience, and that sort of thing. So we'll be providing a recommendation to the city with regard to its existing signage ordinances. I have done a preliminary review of the city's existing ordinances regarding signs, and I think we're actually in pretty good shape vis-a-vis this decision that's been issued by the U.S. Supreme Court. Excuse me. We conferred with the city regarding Ford House expansion matters. I'll let City Manager Mullenweber talk a little more about that. We reviewed proposed agreements. I mentioned this at the last City Council meeting between PATS, the Transportation Services, Services for Older Citizens, and MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, regarding some parking lot funds, some parking lot improvement funds that MDOT is providing to PATS and SOC. We prepared comments on those proposed agreements and discussed those with the city. And I believe that's been approved. All those contracts have been approved and moved on to the respective parties. And then finally, we've had a fair amount of discussion with the city regarding recently received proposals with respect to the Deeplands property development. Conducted a review of
plating requirements on the one hand, other requirements under the city's zoning ordinance on the other, and provided the city with a preliminary recommendation with respect to that. And again, I'll let City Manager Wallenweber talk more about that tonight. My report.
Any questions from Brian? Brian? Okay, Brian, good report, good detail. Mark?
Well, the first item, Halloween Boo Fest was excellent turnout. 237 tickets were sold. We had over 550 people in attendance, and we thank all those people. One, for coming, but two, the volunteers. So many, Helen By and so many others, and some of the staff were engaged in quite a bit of work in getting it prepared. And the pumpkin patch is always neat to see, and stuff with the kids walk away with a pumpkin and stuff. It's really neat. As mentioned earlier, holiday tree lighting will be Sunday, November 27th at 6 p.m. here. And so hopefully people come and enjoy that. For the December council meeting, just a reminder, the council meeting is early. I think it's at noon that day. And we have a luncheon afterwards for employees, volunteers, many of our vendors. And actually, we hope anybody drops in, they can get some food. There's always plenty. So we have the same caterers as last year. We've been working with the schools, all of the Grosse Pointe communities in Harper Woods, along with Merit, who runs the internet and has more fiber in the state. And Merit stands for some consolidation of all the state universities in Michigan, and they actually have more fiber than all the utilities. And we're working, they'll be issuing a proposal on behalf of the communities and the school district and Harper Woods, as well as Harper Woods schools, to create a fiber network that will link all the buildings, and that would potentially provide us with an alternative to Comcast for looking at the cameras and some other things that we do with them. And speaking of that, WOW is actually under construction. We met with their business marketing person, because we're, between us, the Yacht Club and Fort House, we're the only businesses in this city, other than in people's homes. So we'll be getting some more information from them and some alternatives to, currently the only price we can get is from Comcast for some of those services. We're in the process of selling the old pickup truck and 170-some thousand miles on it. But when we sell equipment, and the chief, of course, has sold one of the Tauruses, we contact some of the taxi cab companies and other vendors. We may be streamlining our process to make sure that we're covering all bases, but the way it typically works, we post it among employees. Sometimes we put an ad in the paper. We send notices to the cab companies or others, some of our vendors that may be interested. So we try to maximize our return on that basis too. And I think we're getting $100 more than on the truck than the trade-in value. And I'm not sure I think it's about $6,100 or something. So I met with the rest of the Grosse Pointes in Harper Woods because, as council knows, for the last few years we've been participating in the Community Development Block Grant Program from Wayne County, and they're cutting everybody's allocation, I think 20%, in order to come up with a special program, and we'll be submitting a grant jointly which will allow probably Harper Woods to run a housing rehab program on behalf of all the communities. They currently do it on behalf of themselves and Grosse Pointe Woods. And one of the other things that seems to meet the criteria for this special program is we're collecting information about the installation of a generator and some other handicap improvements at SOX building, so that they could serve as a warming center or cooling center if power goes out, and we know it goes out fairly frequently. So that seems to be an eligible activity. We'll be proceeding at a future date. We may advise council about the process. It was mentioned, the city attorney mentioned D-plans, and in front of you this evening, we handed out, we put in front of council material, because you either have gotten calls, or will be getting calls from residents who are concerned about the project. And at this point, the bank, the items handed out were letter from the bank identifying who they have selected as the potential developer. A report from both our engineering consultants and from our planning consultants as to what is necessary for that developer to submit additional information before action could be taken by in the plat process by the planning commission and city council. And then also a letter, we understand but have not been privy to the other development proposals submitted. We understand there were 4. Obviously, we can't FOIA information from the bank, but the real estate firm that represented the sellers in this case, or the bank, has indicated what they could tell us about the development proposals. But I know you'll be getting questions and things like that. One of the other things I want to indicate, and so that council knows this, there is not, at this point, sufficient information. They were not likely, the developer that the bank has selected is not going to be on the November Planning Commission meeting. I'll talk in a minute what will be on that. And I doubt if since the date for the normal Planning Commission is the first day back from Christmas vacation on the 27th, I doubt if we will have the Planning Commission, but we'll be polling them at next Tuesday's Planning Commission meeting. With respect to that, at the next Planning Commission, we have, again, this will probably come to council afterwards, depending on whatever action the Planning Commission says yea or nay. There's a doctor who owns a lot here, and his son, he want to split the lot to create 2 homes on one, and we'll see what action the Planning Commission takes, but there were concerns of neighbors raised and things like that. And I'm not sure that, again, I want to wait till I have read the report from our planning consultants, but it may not meet the required criteria for that. We'll see. But that'll probably be on. And Ford House is going to present an update on the master planning process they've been going through. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and certainly anything they give us at next week's Planning Commission, we will get immediately to City Council. And I'm excited to learn about how they're proceeding with their plans and stuff. We are participants. Brett has assisted us, and we had to, and actually Bob Gazelle is partially involved in this. We have to, Wayne Metro represents the Great Lakes Water Authority with respect to the fund that was created, and they'll be helping administer the fund that was created to help folks who have problems with their water bill for a variety of reasons. So I think Brett has signed us up for it, but we have some paperwork to complete. And again, I don't know how often we'll be able to take advantage of this, but since the fund was created, we thought, Brett brought it to my attention, that we should participate. And there may be some of our residents who, based on income status, may need some technical assistance or some financial assistance that we could be provided from them. There was a joint meeting between where MERS came to speak to the pension board, and there were some other city staff who were participants, and we got an email back. There was some good information between members of the finance committee and the pension board to talk about with MERS. It doesn't, at least at this point, didn't seem to make sense for us to consider joining MERS to replace our existing pension system, because it was going to cost us more. And there were some other factors there, but they were willing to consider. I just got an email today, which I'll forward both the council and to the committee. There were suggestions from the Finance Committee, Bruce in particular, that suggested a different process that wouldn't require the city to have a vote of the people to get out of the pension system if we once joined them. And so we got an answer back from them about that, and I'll send it to everyone, so it's something to consider, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, at a future meeting of the Finance Committee. Then on Friday, one of the grant opportunities that the city attorney talked about was for SOC and PATS. They got a grant from SMART, all new acronyms, which for people I can explain if they need to. But anyway, we're able to pave the parking lot at SOC with grant monies from SMART. And of course, everything comes in over budget when you wait late in the season, but they were able to contribute an extra $10,000 into the project. And so that work has been done, and they're gonna have a ribbon cutting, I think it's Friday at 1:30. I will not be able to attend, but if anybody from council wants to come, or the public, they'd love to see them. And then the final item that was mentioned, is on the tennis court. I was able to participate for a short time with the Parks and Harbor meeting today. One of the things that was asked for there is could they discuss with the engineers some of the concerns that they have? And we can certainly make that happen before there is a further meeting if necessary. Then the other thing, we did meet with Anderson, Eckstein, Westrick, who had developed the tennis court proposals, and the reason we selected them was their cost was about half the price to get this out to bids and things. So there will be more coming about that as we proceed. But I think the next step is to bid it out and find out what the actual cost for and what we can do. And it was anticipated there'd probably be 2 or 3 separate contracts here. One for the gates and things like that have to be widened, and it didn't make sense, at least to staff, to pay an asphalt contractor to put a markup on what fence work we might need to get done. The same is true with the electrician. You know, one of the things that we learned is that we can recycle the lights, but there's other repairs we have to make so that we don't have to turn the street lights on to use power at the pavilion, and some things that need to be separated there. So that'll probably be broken out into a separate thing. Then the last thing I wanted to indicate, and you may have seen the article in the paper about Ford House. They have received the highest designation from the U.S. Government as a National Historic Landmark. So I'm sure that we'll want to do a special proclamation, and it's a real honor to have a facility like that. And of course, the Yacht Club has gotten their building on the historic registry as well. So next in line is for me to do some work and to put ours together, our application for this building together. So, and that's all I had tonight, but it was a long list, so.
Boy, a lot of detail, Mark. Any questions of Mark? Mark, these materials here, are these privileged documents, or
No.
Brian, in case a resident asked
No.
to?
We've had a number of FOIAs for folks like that, and we've been trying to work with folks from the neighborhood who have called or expressed concern about this, because it's, you know, they're closest to this property, and at the same time, we have a responsibility to process the application of who the bank has selected at this point, and there'll be much more on this as well. But I did want to, also, I'm glad you asked, one more thing I need to say, is that all residents, not just those who have contacted us in the past, there's legal requirement for notices so many days in advance of any hearing the planning commission would hold, and they'll all get notified either by letter, by the official notice in the paper, and, you know, process that way too.
Okay, good, that's good.
Mayor, just to respond to your question just a little bit further, several of these 4 items that are listed here, first of all, are not privileged. Second, some of them have already been turned over to
Oh, have they?
inquiring residents pursuant to existing FOIA requests.
Okay.
And the other is that the proposal that we've been discussing is actually an applied for plat proposal for the D-Plans development. And as Mark pointed out, the city planner and the city engineer have both commented, fairly extensively on the preliminary plat proposal that's been submitted, so. It's in play, but not before the planning commission until all the other issues addressed by the engineer and planning commission and public safety, for that matter, among others, have been addressed.
Okay.
But you've gotten money from them, right?
I was just gonna say, one of the things we learned from the last process, we said, look, we have to engage our consultants to look at this stuff. So besides submitting the required amount, I think it's $500 for the meeting, we required a $20,000 check to begin the process of reviewing, because all of our consultants have to look at this, and there are some others. One of the things the chief mentioned earlier is Dave Allen comes to us from TIA. We're a member of that group, and they will be reviewing traffic concerns and things like that as well on the development. Like public safety will be reviewing the curb rate, and the engineers. The curb radius is big enough for us to get the fire truck in, or the garbage truck and things like that. So we learned a good lesson and required that kind of a check or deposit, in which case we'll be charging against all of our consulting fees against that.
Well, the ordinance says that they pay all the out-of-pocket costs that we incur. There's no cap on what engineering fees or
Right.
consulting fees. So we can consult and consult and then consult.
Yes.
And consult the consultant. Okay.
Well, some of us come free. I mean, we have to review their stuff.
But the out-of-pocket stuff, they're gonna be
Yeah.
responsible for, so.
Yes.
When they're determining a sewer water retention and flow rates of water pipes and all that stuff, that's not cheap to have.
No.
Professional people do that.
One of the residents shared the proposed site plan, and I guess I wanted to understand, would that be a private road or a public road? Is what they were showing.
Public road.
It would be public?
And it would have to be, it has to meet all of our engineering requirements in terms of width, curb requirements.
Okay.
There's lots more that that particular developer has to submit in terms of, to meet the requirement. One of the, and he's been chipping away at stuff, like he had to notify the school district because of the plat process. We just got a letter back from the school, said, hey, we got his letter telling us about it. They don't comment on it, but one of the things the ordinance requires is Wayne County's got to comment on it. And we know it was sent to Wayne County, but we haven't received any comments back.
It didn't go to the health department, did it?
No.
Or the traffic department?
You mean the partially non-existent traffic department?
Yeah. From the guys that worked in the health department over at the snack bar, right? Those guys, they got transferred over to the streetlights.
Great news about that, and I do mean this not really facetiously, is Brett has, served on the committee, the TIP committee, Transportation Improvement Committee. And so half the staff the few remaining staff people he knows and can get the right answers from them or notify them about things. Because one of the things we learned too is once this project is done, Wayne County, the remaining staff in Wayne County to fix something have to come out all the way from Wayne, Michigan.
Wow.
So we're gonna take proposals from private electrical firms to maintain traffic signals in other communities, assuming that's another issue that could save us some substantial funds.
All right, thanks, Mark, for the update. Old business, none, new business, Public Act 152.
Yes, this item comes up every year in December, and this is something that the state put in, and there's three options, none of which the third option is an opt-out, but we require employees here to pay, there's an 80-20 rule, and that's the program that's been in place for the last 5, 6, 7 years since it took over, somewhere along that line. it requires council to act on a resolution to keep that in place.
Yes, I think we first motioned it in December of 2011, so this is 5 years ago. Has everyone looked at this public act? And if we're in agreement, then I need a motion to approve the 80-20% cost sharing arrangement.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Now, the next item is a technicality. I don't believe we've had anybody claim it in the past, but
No,
it's the
we haven't,
property exemption
but,
from property taxes.
This is in keeping with the WCA, the Wayne County assessing firm that is handling us, and each year at this time, we're required to adopt the property guidelines. I know there've been questions in the past about this, but these are pretty much set based on federal and state guidelines, and we will mirror what's an adoption, if council adopts this here, what they do throughout the state.
We've approved this every year. because
Yes.
Same ways. I make a motion to approve the federal guidelines as proposed.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And then last, I guess we're, well, no, we have the annual actuarial valuation, all 65 pages. And again, this was approved by the Pension Commission, so we're just accepting this in the public domain. So,
Not like last year.
so I need a motion to accept and preserve in the public domain the actuarial report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
You
Aye.
guys got this down.
We got it trained. We're trained.
And then the Board of Review, this is something new, but I guess,
Yeah, in keeping with the firm, and because they do so many communities, they've asked for consideration. There's really 2 or 3 times a year the board can meet. The March Board of Review, the December board fixes some things, and occasionally there's a July board too. And they've asked for consideration to pass a resolution that we may have to change the official date because of their other clients and things like that. They'll try to accommodate our charter requirements here. But the state statute says approximately the time that you would meet. And we'll be doing this, and it meets the state requirements to do that.
this is from the State Tax Commission,
Yes, they decide when you can meet, and our charter has very specific dates, and we may have to vary from those based
Okay.
upon this. And why did we have 12 people last year? Thank goodness. Or was it 8? At the March Board of Review. I think there was just a dozen.
from 140, I think, in
Years
2011.
ago, yes.
Okay, we need a motion to approve this resolution to make the alteration for the Board of Review dates.
So moved.
Is there some,
Second.
support? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Public comment. We have any public comment? Oh, Brett?
Mr. Mayor, I finally realized why my report was so short. I failed to mention WOW.
Oh.
I wanted to talk to you and let you know what's going on with WOW TV. They are currently working on Fordcroft and Woodland Shore. They're just getting started, and they're generating a lot of phone calls, and with very good questions. You know, are they gonna dig up my flower bed in the back? Are my sprinklers gonna get dug up? One person had a problem with the dog fence. And I'm not able to answer any of those questions at this time. However, I have been in contact with WOW and will be meeting with them tomorrow. And they assured me they will give me enough information to provide that we can get on the internet and our cable TV. So right now, if they're working in your area and you have any questions, give me a call and I can try to take care of that. So again, I apologize for not bringing that up, and I should have some more information for you very soon, and it should be available to the residents as well.
So WOW would have access to any of our utility easements?
Yes.
Yes, currently, they're actually working in their rear yards, and that's a pretty sensitive area, and WOW is not doing the installation themselves. I forget the name of the company, I don't know if Spark.
Not InfoSource.
Installation.
Yeah,
No,
it
it's
Advanced
not,
Communication.
it's not the same company, but
Aero Communication?
No, it was just a off-the-wall, a name I didn't recognize. Their trucks have WOW on them, and they all have their badges and stuff, but again, you see somebody in your backyard, and you don't know that's happening. I'm sure police are gonna get calls, and I'm getting calls already, so that's something that we definitely need to spend some time on, and you'll have that information very soon, and it should be on the cable or the TV by the end of the week, so. Again, apologize for not bringing that up.
No, one thing to add to that was actually, we had not provided WCA's staff person with a badge. So he was checking out one neighborhood today. Public Safety got the call, and we roughed him up really good. Only teasing, but we did take his picture. So again, and again, it's a comment about what kind of, we have such great folks here who take such a pride in the neighborhood that they call if they see something like that. And so Public Safety appreciates it, and we do. And it shows we forgot to take the guy's picture and give him a badge, so.
Well, Brett, thanks for alerting us to that. So, any public comment? Anybody here? Jim, you got public comment? Okay, council member comments. Bob?
I just have a happy Thanksgiving and eat a lot.
Okay. Tina?
One thing is, I guess my question will be, as far as monitoring the ordinances. After now the election, during that time, we saw tons and tons of yard signs. And there continues to be people putting out signs for various activities or things that are happening, but they're staying on their yards for months at a time. And it's starting to look junky and busy. And so who is public safety? I mean, you know, do you like give them a friendly reminder that we, you know, we don't have this availability for months?
You're referring to private property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Public property, we take those down immediately.
Okay.
The election signs, which the politicians love to leave out, no, they have to be down 5 days after the election, so, and most of those are down.
Okay.
You're talking about home improvement, those type of signs?
No, because I understand that they usually move those as soon, you take those out as soon as the company leaves, you know, and they stop doing their work. I'm talking about things, arts and crafts fairs and wine tastings and different
Normally
things
those
like
have
that.
an end life too, you know, like there's one, I saw one on Valentine for De La Salle's, and that's coming up, that event's coming up, so.
Okay.
Well, I know what you mean. I don't know if there is on private property. I'll have to research that and see if there is a end point on that.
I think there used to be a rule that it could only be up 30 days. You know, like Brian said, it's content
review
neutral,
it.
but
I'll
it's
send you an
so
email.
many days.
We're going to need to, in that context, really look at the recent Supreme Court decision that I mentioned earlier tonight. Because, and make recommendation, because the way that the city, in this other case, it was in Arizona, got into trouble is they said, 5 days for this kind of sign to hang around, 30 days for that kind of sign with that sort of content to be posted on your property. We don't want any of these kinds of signs at all. And the Supreme Court just said, those are all content-based restrictions on free speech. And therefore held that the ordinance was invalid. And in essence, what came out of it was if it's on private property, all of your ordinances have to be content neutral. And if you want them off the property because they're a blight, for example, or a nuisance, it's all going to be the same. It's all going to be 5 days, or it's all got to be 10 days. But it can't be 5 days for this and a realtor sign, X days for that.
Or
So
once they start rusting or, something like that.
Yeah.
So we will make a recommendation, but, we're gonna go through the ordinance piece by piece.
Okay.
Good, yeah, that'd be,
It's not an easy problem. It's
Sure.
Supreme Court created a
Happy
conundrum.
Thanksgiving. please, everyone come out to the tree lighting on the 27th. It's a fun night for young and old alike. It's just gets you in the holiday spirit, and we'll see everybody back here in December.
Thanks, Tina. Bruce?
Mark and I were talking at the Finance Committee about one thing. We're gonna be doing an audit of the community and with their downspouts being connected to the sanitary system. We did a sewer separation project 20 years ago. And you're supposed to have your downspout not connected to your sanitary system, so. And the reason we're doing that, they had always sewer overflows in the other communities. We were fortunate that we didn't have that. I'm talking with Brett, the biggest culprit, if you will, for the overflow is when your downspouts from your roof are putting all that water into the sanitary system as opposed to dispersing on the ground. So we're gonna go, we haven't looked at that for a while. We're gonna go to, so you may see somebody walking around your house doing that, looking at the downspouts and doing an audit for that. So that we're trying to minimize the amount of wastewater we're paying Wayne County. That's the whole goal. We wanna get cheap with those guys because they're a pain in our side, if you will. The second thing, we got the newsletter in November from Tom upstairs. It's wonderful. Do we have any mechanism in place to increase its distribution to the rest of the residents?
No,
People
I-
have their email address like we do. We get the thing. But I don't know if everybody else in the community knows that's available, because that is, one of the things we asked to put in the newsletter was how our sanitary and storm systems work. Like this is where the water goes and this is where the other water goes. And I don't know if we've got really good distribution yet in terms of that. Maybe when we send out the tax bill, let's give them an email, if you want an email address back. I know Nixle, we do that, but it might be a way we can get people who want to participate in that, because it really is a good source of information for everybody.
And just to piggyback on what you said, if you remember the survey that Doug and I did when we first came into council, number one request of the residents filling out the survey was to be on an email, have a newsletter emailed to them. So it's something that a lot of people are definitely interested in. I think they just need to get the information that it's available now, get your email back here.
Well, the way we need to do that, like I say, maybe when we do the mailing for the tax bill, put a note in there.
Yeah. That's a real,
Don't invite them to comment back to you about their tax bill and their,
Maybe with a calendar instead.
or the calendar, yeah, that's great. Even though some way to do that, because it really is.
Neutral.
And the other thing, are you looking for authors for articles?
Yes.
Okay, so I encourage-
Ken Laurie does a great job putting it together, but please, if you have anything else, we'll make sure it goes on the website and, our pages there and stuff too.
like, that's a great article for WOW, for instance, or anybody else on the property, so that they know that, what to expect. So, yeah, that's a good idea, Brett.
This downspout thing.
Bob, do you have anything to say?
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It doesn't seem possible that the end of the year is approaching so rapidly. Where did it go? I hope you have a great holiday.
We've been in office 5 years.
Thanks, Bob. Doug?
No, I have nothing. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Well, I have a few things. Santa Claus is coming a week from this Sunday, 6 o'clock, and his annual trek to visit Grosse Pointe Shores. And so he's going to be collecting the list from all the good little boys and girls, and it's really exciting time to see them sitting on Santa's lap, and it gives you a good feeling. This is the end of the year, so we have some committee appointments and commission members to review, and we always encourage residents that are thinking about volunteering to consider one of the different commissions and committees. That's how we keep this place special. That's how we, I think, preserve our real uniqueness here as a premier community. The emails, like Tina and Bruce said, we're still collecting them, and I didn't even get that newsletter, so I have to check to see where my email address is. But that's a wonderful way just to let people know, and it's not too intrusive, because it's just once a month or once every 2 months, once a month.
Once a month.
But in our next council meeting is noon. We had a council member, who was it, that came at 7 o'clock for the noon meeting. So it's at noon, and then we're having a reception to honor all our volunteers, all the commission and committee members that help make the city a better place. That's at 2 o'clock, and it's it's gonna be catered by one of our residents, Marchioli Catering, who has the best food. Thanks to Doug and 3 other members of our community, we have a holiday house tour by the Improvement Foundation, and that's Sunday, December 4th. So, and again, Doug, thanks for opening up your house, and then the Grosse Pointe Christmas Parade is the day after Thanksgiving here, starting at, was it Lewiston and Kercheval, and that's also a wonderful event for the community. And, you know, again, I can't believe it's almost Thanksgiving right now, but where did the year go by? I want to also say thanks to the Finance Committee, Rhonda, working together tirelessly. This is the first time we achieved over a 25% surplus in terms of our general fund expenditures. Like Aaron said, we were 25.2%. We did sign a resolution last year that would be something we would monitor and we'd adhere to, and that, I think, assisted in acquiring our AAA bond status. So, my thanks to everyone. I wish everyone, again, a happy Thanksgiving. And George, don't forget our meeting is at noon, because we had a lot of residents that showed up at 7 o'clock. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there support? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Again, thank you for coming.
It wasn't, she came up and went back.
Oh, you just got there?
She's an old timer like me.
She's not bad though, you know? She really cares.
Get a list.